File transfer complete.
This is Arizona Route 66, the podcast. Stories about the people, places, and events found along the main street of America in the Grand Canyon State. For more information on our podcasts, visit ArizonaPodcast.com.
And welcome to Arizona Route 66, the podcast. My name is Chris, along with my beautiful bride, Mary, who's hanging out and keeping us company nonetheless. We are celebrating the main street of America here in the Grand Canyon State. Hey, thanks for taking the time to join us on our YouTube channel, or if you're listening to us via our podcast, thank you again for taking the time to download the show and listening. We do appreciate it. Hey, good news, we're now on Blue Sky Social. You'll find us at, of course, Arizona Podcast. We try to stay as social as possible. You'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, and now Blue Sky. First, let's get a couple of updates, shall we, of what's happening with Arizona Podcast. And one of the first things we wanted to point out is not only are we doing Arizona Route 66, the podcast, in addition to the Mother Road Minute, we've decided to add a few more things in 2025. We've got a new segment coming up as well, and that is a spotlight on places simply called Just Off Route 66. Now, the concept of the show is, well, quite simple. We have a lot of visitors into Arizona that are willing to take those road trips an hour north or south of Route 66 to find some of those really awesome locations. Now, for example, the Grand Canyon. That's a good hour north of Williams. The Hoover Dam. Again, another hour north of Kingman. Bell Rock in Sedona. That is a sight to see. That's an hour south. Prescott Valley, there's another hour south. And the London Bridge at Lake Havasu. Again, another hour off of Route 66. So what we wanted to do was spotlight a few other places for those traveling just off the Mother Road. Now, for example, if you're taking that drive from Kingman North to Hoover Dam, what do you say if you take a little side road, about 10 minutes off Highway 93, and you will find the oldest continuous inhabited mining town in all of Arizona. It's also home to the oldest continuously operating post office and the oldest operating church. Well, we'll share that with you in one of our upcoming episodes. Now, if you're anything like my grandchildren, I can hear your eyes rolling. Yes, I'm the guy that likes to find the second biggest ball of twine and share it with people. Whether you go see it or not, that's going to be completely up to you. Now, Arizona Route 66 history. I put on my professor hat for just a moment. There is no test to what I'm going to tell you, but I'll tell you, if you're trying to make points in the bar after a round of golf, you might want to catch these numbers. Now, Route 66 in Arizona runs 385.2 miles from border to border. And Arizona holds the honor of the longest continuous stretch of Route 66 in the entire nation, that being 158 miles running from Ash Fork to the California state line. Well, that's where we are today, part of that 158-mile stretch, and some awesome history. We are pretty much in Peach Springs, also known as Radiator Springs. Yes, Peach Springs, nearby Seligman, are the towns that inspired Pixar's animated classic Cars. But there's more to this town than you know. We are at the Grand Canyon Caverns. It opened as a roadside attraction, believe it or not, when Route 66 started in 1926. However, the caverns been here much longer, some 17 million years ago. They were formed in the limestone that was once the bottom of an ancient inland sea that divided North America. The Grand Canyon Caverns are the largest dry caverns in the United States. And, well, you're not going to believe this, it's been closed for a couple of years. Now they're reopening February 1st, 2025. Now, not only can you travel here, come see the caverns, yes, you can stay in the caverns overnight, and yes, you can dine in the caverns some 200 feet below. Now, Mary and I had the honor of going down into the caverns prior to this, and we'll be talking with Paul Jorgenson, who will share with us more insights of what we saw on the tour. Now, again, it's going to reopen after the closure in 2021, and it is going to be amazing. I've seen some of the stuff they're doing. We're going to talk with Roxanne Davis, Vickie Orcutt. Each have a title, and if I hit the right button here, let's see if I can get this right. Vickie Orcutt, you hold the title of Tours and Gift Shop Manager, and it looks like I have both of you on the screen here. So that makes things a little bit easier. I can go over here and hit Roxanne, and we're focused on you as well. And we're going to find out what's going on. Thank you for all the fun invitation, all the fun stuff that's in the background. And before we start the interview, I think what we should do, everybody, is apologize for the noise in the background. Need to understand, I saw the punch list of things still needing to be done here. How crazy is that? The list is what was his official title? The pilot that took us down in the elevator. Yes. He had mentioned to us that he himself enjoys what he gets to do here, but the punch list of what he still have to do actually is written on the side of the elevator. So it's kind of fun to see what they have to do. I can only imagine what your punch list looks like.
That is the case. We are all just, I guess, jumping through hoops, per se, to have everything open by February 1.
Yeah, you can do it.
Oh, sure we can. We've got lots of good help, and we definitely will keep at it.
And let's not forget about you, Roxanne. You are the hotel manager.
I am.
So we have... It was quite interesting. When you come into the Caverns Inn off Route 66 in Beach Springs, you'll notice at the hotel there's a restaurant out on route, let's say right on the route. But there's also the road that leads here to yet another restaurant. There's an RV park. There's campsites as well. I saw, I don't want to call them bungalows, but you have bunkhouses in the back. So people have not been here need to come visit. And again, in 2026, with the Centennial, there are going to be millions of people on the road. At least we're all kind of hoping. And you guys are going to be quite busy. So before we go into the past, what's going on in the future? What do you see? What's on the horizon?
Well, we're diligently working toward the opening on February 1st. The motel, we have 48 rooms, standard rooms. We have 6 bunkhouses, 1 ranch house to offer. We also have a RV park with 50 spots and tent camping available. And we're just trying to get ready for our grand opening right now. All departments have been busy, working toward the grand opening.
So the facilities I saw roadside, where you see the Cavern Inn and the restaurant, is that part of this as well? Is it one large group, or are those 2 separate entities?
It is. We're together. The roadside motel that you see is pretty much the convenience store and the motel.
Right.
And then as you come up a mile from the motel, that's where you'll get the restaurant and the RV park. Gotcha.
Now, just for fun, if you don't mind me asking, where was I going to go with this? Oh, rodeo grounds is what I thought I saw. So do you hold rodeos out here as well?
We haven't in a really long time, but in May we'll be having the first rodeo that's going to be on property again.
Now, is that local
really
or sanctioned, or what goes on?
Coming from a Kingman, and we're looking forward to having at least 2,000 coming in for that rodeo.
Wow. Yeah, no, I'm an old rodeo buff, so anytime I see old rodeo grounds, it's like, ooh, there's another one.
Yeah. Very true, very true. And I think the thing to clarify what has been shut down is just the caverns.
Correct.
The inn has continued to be open these past years.
Yeah, and I think that to go back to, as we go into history, even I noticed when I was trying to do a little research of what the Grand Canyon Caverns and Inn was about, was understanding there was we'll call it the elevator incident. And the elevator incident caused the closure of the caverns. And just so everybody knows, it's not an incident like people got hurt or anything. This is the elevator just quit running. With that said, and then I guess COVID played a big part, and everything just kind of happened. Now, here we are 4 years later, 3 years later. The elevator's running just fine. Mary and I got in it, and we traveled the 200 feet plus down and up again. Although it didn't have any doors on it, and listen to the guy, banging on stuff on the top of the elevator. That made it fun. but it was completely comfortable. So if I could say anything to people that are maybe if you're going to come out and join the folks at Grand Canyon Caverns, you got nothing to worry about. It's pretty well set up, nice. And that's what led us into what's coming up. Today we're filming this, about a week and a half before you open.
Right, a week and a half. We're
And
on the countdown.
Again, there's punch lists on walls everywhere. I think you guys are going to open up in glory. I can see that coming. Now you hold two titles. You do the tours, and you also do the gift shop. So you kind of like you're wearing multiple hats. And today you had multiple hats. You're going crazy. What do you see in the future? What's going on here? This mural behind us. Can we talk about that?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to. He's talking about going crazy. We've got, new staff that are coming in. They're learning their roles. They're helping with that punch list to have us all set up and be ready. One of the pieces of being ready with the gift shop is the mural that you see behind us. Juan Nunez with Phoenix Murals came in and has painted the Supai Falls. And we wanted to bring some color in here. We're doing a reset in the gift shop, more with the focus of Native American and Native Americans. And
Well, we're kind of in the heart of that country, so.
very true, very true. So we have, the Wallapai there in Peach Springs, the Havasupai there, out in the canyons. And so definitely bringing that to this area is, a great tribute to those that live here.
Now, we don't have a camera angle on it, but I know that we'll have some added in post-production of some of the artwork that's here. And that not only reflects the Southwest, but the Indian culture as well. So the Native American culture.
Most definitely. And, we're bringing to our jewelry selections, especially is local Native Americans who have designed and created the jewelry. And so, we're excited to be displaying that and be partnering with them. We do have the artwork that we have is local as well. We're in hopes to see some pottery fill in our shelves here soon. And so, just piece by piece, bringing, those pieces together. And then, you've got to have your fun gemstones and the selenite to be in celebration of the caverns.
Absolutely. It amazes me what we've learned just in the short time that we've been here, and I can only imagine what Mary and I will learn when we return and see some of the other things. Roxanne, if I can talk to you for a minute, talking about the hotel. You said that the hotel in the front, is that also part of? Do you have part of the RV park and all that? Are you also in the planning of accommodations?
Well, we did manage the RV park as well, but most recently we've hired an RV manager to manage the RV
Gotcha.
park since it's located up here at the
At the
restaurant.
top, you're driving back and
Yeah.
forth a mile and get a little
so
crazy,
it's
I
been a
imagine.
little challenging. But what we got going on at the motel is that we're renovating right now. So that's really exciting because we haven't had a renovation in the motel for a really long time.
Now you're talking rooms, the
Rooms,
restaurant,
I'm
the gift
talking
store,
rooms.
everything.
We're renovating rooms right now. It's currently underway. We're also trying to get ADA rooms into the motel, which wasn't really standard ADA.
Right.
We also have, new paint, new furniture. We're going to add microwaves and refrigerators to the rooms.
Gotcha.
We've upgraded to smart TVs, and our Wi-Fi, so we're now able to provide that, amenity as well.
Now you're going to get Wi-Fi in the caverns, right? Because I couldn't get a
That's
phone
what
call
we're
while I
hoping
was down
for.
there.
That's what we're
Okay,
working
just
toward.
didn't know if that was going to bounce around in there. With that said as well, how many rooms? Again, we're talking about the property that's right on Route 66
Yeah,
in
we
Peach
have
Springs.
48 standard rooms, 4 buildings with 12 rooms each. And that's a mixture of 2 doubles, 2 queens, 1 king. And those are all available at the motel.
Gotcha. Mary and I, we arrived a little early. So we stopped in there and went into the gift store and bought a snack and kind of looking around. We talked to the
The front desk.
the front desk, and they were so excited. Other events that are coming up. What is it? There's a hiking event coming up. And she said, we're so excited. Is it coming up in May? I think she had mentioned.
The grand opening of February 1st also opens the hiking season for the Half Supai tribe.
Right.
So that's what we're looking forward to now that our season will be starting. We're excited that not only the hiking is opening, but also the tours for the Grand Canyon Cavern.
Gotcha. You guys you're going to be really busy.
Yes, we are, and we're happy.
Yeah. And Mary and I are going to have to hang out in the restaurant, I think, for dinner before we leave. It just seems so inviting, and I really love what you guys have done here. This is kind of amazing. Mary said the same thing to me. She said, this is like kind of homey. I like that, especially with
Very
a campsite.
welcoming.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Vickie, if we can go back to you, and I'm pressing the wrong button there. Going back to you with the tours, things are changing. I noticed that I've been watching. We follow each other on social media,
Right.
so I've been following your social media feeds of you kind of snuck out what the prices are going to be when things change, and you announced on social media the opening of the caverns, and then there were three that said coming soon. The different tours.
Right.
So let's talk about beginning February 1st, 2025. What is available for those that are coming?
Absolutely. So we have our standard tour. It's a 45-minute tour that'll take you through the caverns. And then we have our short tour. Maybe you are short on time and you don't have the 45 minutes. And then, because it's a 25-minute tour, or if you have some limited mobility, that's a little bit more accessible for individuals from that standpoint. But coming later in the year, June, we plan to open up our tours that get you a little bit off the path, and you're going to be in there, a couple of hours. Our Explorer Tour and our Wild Tour. I always want to call it Wilderness, we're out in this beautiful country, Wild Tour. And so we'll have those available in June. Please note, you do have to be 18 years or older for that because, it's a little test of your strength. And you are going to
Liability, I would imagine,
liability,
too. So,
you're also going to be going down into some areas that it's not an open pathway. And I actually haven't done it, so I, just telling you a little bit that I know of.
Yeah, there were a few little caves when Paul was giving us the tour. We got the personal guided tour, which was a lot of fun. And notice there were some spaces that I probably would not want to go into. And this was, I forgot to set my watch to get all my steps, but I should have set it to cardio because some of those, even though they're not steps and they're ramps, boy, you get a little workout going through those caverns.
Very true. We have some inclines, some declines, and we also have some steps throughout it. There are some handrails in those areas where you're having a little bit of climbing up and climbing down. But yes, you are going to get a good cardio.
Well, I don't mind the cardio.
Yeah.
I show it to my doctor. Look, I did it.
Another tour to tell you about that we don't have a time frame on it, as the website says, coming soon, but we will bring back the ghost tour.
Oh, good.
And that's where all the lights go off, and who knows what happens then. So, anyway.
So a guy with claustrophobia, 200 feet underground, and the lights go out. Oh, I want that tour.
Well, some people want that thrill. They want to have that anxiety rush. And
Maybe I can do some of the sound effects of the ghost. I don't know. That's kind
I
of.
don't know.
So I'm gonna have to put Roxanne on the spot here, seeing how you're doing all the hotel stuff. Is the room opening up down in the caverns?
It is. We're looking forward to the Cavern Suite opening on the 1st of February.
And for those that don't know what this is, would you explain?
It's a suite that's located down in the cavern, which is, 210 feet down?
Give or take a foot.
Floors.
10 feet.
Yeah.
But it can accommodate up to 6, I believe. Yes. We got 2 queen beds and a futon. It's got its own bathroom, its own sitting area, and
so when
nice
everything
small
closes up
area.
at 8:00, right? You're open 8 to 8, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
The gift shop's open 8 to 8. Our tours are from 9 until 6.
Okay, so after 6:00, the restaurant shuts down. That's down there, and whoever has the suite they get to hang out all by
Get the
themselves.
privilege of having the cave to themselves all night.
And it's only one suite.
Right.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, we call it the deepest, darkest, quietest hotel room.
It echoes.
Well, I guess, if you're going to have people calling out and what have you, but who knows? I think it's worth the thrill to come find out.
Absolutely. And what I really enjoy too is just those, again, off the cuff. What do you do? What's different? What can people be a part of? My other life is I happen to be a chaplain, and part of my job is to marry people. So when we were walking through the caverns, lo and behold, there's an arch. You have weddings in the caverns as well.
That we do. We actually have some bridal bouquets, where the bride will toss them. Well, instead of tossing them to someone else, they're tossed up on the wall, and they're still there.
Goodness. I didn't see those.
Yeah, there's a couple of them still there.
That's amazing. And then we're going to talk to Paul about all the little nooks and crannies of the caverns. But where we saw the wedding arch happened to be was the civil defense room. And that's kind of a tease on my part, is sharing with you that during the Cuban Missile Crisis, there is a civil defense part of the canyon. And it literally has the food and the water and the cots and everything that was here back in the 60s. So it's kind of interesting what's happening. And then again, how big that cave is. So
Yeah, a whole football field, if you wanted
is it
vision
just
from
one
that
or two football
standpoint.
fields? I mean,
Well,
it's huge.
I'm not going to give the clarity on that. I'm going to leave that for Paul.
Oh, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Roxanne, going back to that room, they call a little bit later on. I'm going to give away phone numbers and website addresses, but they can request that room. Can they just by the night because you have such a large group of people that may want to be there, or can they be here for a week? What can they do?
It's totally up to the guests themselves. The rates are a little higher than your standard room.
Well, I would imagine it's a very big room.
So, if someone wanted to rent it for more than one night, we'd be happy to do that.
Gotcha. Now, any other exciting? You had just touched a little bit that the
Well,
renovations coming up on the hotel.
We also got our gas station coming. We're working toward opening up the gas station, and we've also got propane service coming.
Oh, so up on the front.
Yeah.
Mary and I were here, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. We traveled by and saw all the cars out there that resembled Pixar movies. Most of those are gone, so you're making room to move those out to make the new construction.
Those vehicles were owned by the previous owner.
Right.
So when he went, the cars went with him. That's one of the biggest questions we get here is
Where are the
where's
cars?
the cars?
Where's the
Yeah.
cars? Well, Peach Springs and Seligman and Angel, you guys just, really had motivation for Pixar, and then you were so welcoming to them. And you can look it up on, I believe, Google or Yahoo, either one, and you can put in Radiator Springs, Arizona, and it will bring you here. So that says a lot that you've made a mark.
Well, something inspired them, and it's good for it to, be for us.
So we know what's happening with the hotel. I can tell you there's things happening in the gift store. I've watched a metamorphosis just in the couple of hours we've been here. What are the plans? What are you doing?
Gracious, you want to, first off, if you're out and about, you want a souvenir that says where you've gone.
Gotcha.
Right? So
But the artwork's amazing.
So we'll have those type of things, and then, like I said, our Native American paintings and what have you is what we plan to continue to have here. We've got some from Navajo, the Navajo tribe, and then I want to say the other gentleman that I just talked with the other day, he's Hopi. So again, we're
Wonderful.
really looking
Full
for
representation.
those here within, Arizona, and if folks, have something that they might want to partner with us to sell in the gift shop, we welcome them to contact me, and we'll see, what could come of it.
So we'll be showing a lot of pictures of the caverns as we talk to Paul in the next segment. But I wanted to make sure that we have the right information. If you're watching the show or listening to the podcast, the phone number to get a hold of them, it's area code 928-422-3223. And that gets you into the gift stop, the tickets, and it gets you into the hotel, and everything can be set up and arranged by then. I would imagine some people that want to spend the night in a cave in a hotel room, they'll be calling. That would be kind of a fun thing. And what a great gift. And then the idea of getting married. Website is gccaverns.com. And again, open 7 days a week. You said 8 to 8 is the gift store. The restaurant opens later in the day, correct?
So we're on winter hours right now, and so it's from 3 to 8 p.m. But come February 1, we will be on new hours, and that will include breakfast. So we'll
Wow.
have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And
that's both. Now, the restaurant that's down there isn't there anymore, correct?
Okay,
The
no.
Betty Boop. Or
so
Betty.
the Betty Boop is no longer at the inn.
Right.
And so the folks that would receive their complimentary breakfast will now come down here.
Gotcha.
And so that complimentary breakfast will be served in the Caverns Grill, along with it being open to other guests for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The other part to clarify is we have a restaurant in the cavern called Crystal Restaurant. And that is by reservation only. We'll be serving from 12 until 3. Yeah, we just.
Oh, so it's just
we
kind of a lunch thing.
Right, it's just a lunch thing.
Limited
Gotcha.
hours.
Limited hours, and it is definitely by
So
reservation only.
Full menu like you have up here, or
It's a
shorter
limited-
marriage?
It's a limited menu, but it's some of the, the same items that are here. The beauty is you get to combine it with the tour and finish up with them.
I highly suggest you eat first and then the tour. Work that lunch off.
Well, I can't say that the scheduling will work that way.
Oh, gotcha.
But, it might for some people.
Again, so during post-production of the vodcast, we'll make sure that we have the contact information on the screen at all times, so you know how to do that. And then I noticed that, again, you have Wi-Fi, which I thought was kind of cool. I walked in and said, here, scan this QR code to get the information. Again, I can't wait for you to get it downstairs, and then we can all walk through the caverns, still check our Instagram. No, we're going to
No, I don't think you're going to be
stay
able
focused.
to do that. But I will, if you mind, Chris, I would note that our online ticket purchasing is not fully live at this moment, but if you would email me, I will make sure that we get that connection made.
Oh, sure.
So-
Or they can still call the phone number as well. So,
Right,
again,
right,
they'll
but
be...
I know a lot of people, it seems like in their off hours, they want to email, we're not here, so.
Right.
And so I have a lot of those.
And you have new ticket prices, and if you want to stop by there, I hate to say this, I don't have your handles for social media. So is it at GC Cavern or at GC Caverns? Do you know?
That's a great question. I'd have to get back to you on that.
Well, I found you by just putting in Grand Canyon Caverns and it directed me each site that I went to.
Right, we're on Facebook and Instagram.
Right. I didn't see on TikTok. I didn't see on Threads, but
Nope.
and Blue Sky's the new Twitter,
Right.
X. I don't know. Mary and I just kind of laugh at each other in the evening and go, "Which one do you want?" I don't know, but we'll admit we're old people. We look at cat videos and we're happy. You know, and that's how. And a few other. Now we're looking at caves. So who would have thought? So Vickie's going to stay, but Roxanne, thank you for joining us, giving us the update on the hotels.
Thank you.
And now we have again the phone numbers and how to get a hold and how to get the to reserve that room. I hope I grabbed enough video. It was dark, but it kind of shows where that room is down there. But thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us, okay? And then as that happens, we're just going to switch over and make sure that we're doing all the right things. Paul is going to join us. We had some fun stories with Paul when we were talking about understanding the fun titles that people hold. And Paul, if you don't mind, let me make sure that I have you here. And I have to push buttons now, which makes things kind of interesting. I might pull up your microphone. Paul, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me here.
Are you kidding? It's fine. I have to find out where your name is.
Paul Jorgenson.
Yeah, no, it's here somewhere. I want to look like I know what I'm doing. There you are. Your name's going to pop up here in a second. At least I hope. We'll find out. There you go, Paul. You're there. I appreciate you taking the time. And thank you so much. Mary and I enjoyed ourselves immensely. You are a man of knowledge. And the title they gave you was Cave Specialist. You gave yourself the title of Caver.
Just caver.
Just Caver. And then you were talking about, you did a Discovery Channel or something, and they gave you the title of geologist.
They did, yes.
Yeah, and so now you can say you played a geologist on TV.
I've definitely played a geologist on TV. Yes.
And I
was a fun
learned
time.
it's kind of interesting. Mary's late father-in-law is an NHR Hall of Famer. And every once in a while, I'd go online and I'd research his history and what he did. And he's a world record holder. He's an inductee into the NHR of thing. And I would go to him and say, Dad, so you did this with Garlits and you did it? And he goes, no. And then I went, oh, well, then you did this and you moved the engine from the back to the front or the front to the back. And he goes, no. And then it was like, what did you do? And he said, I did a bunch, but not what you're going to find online. So Paul shared a story about the same thing. You're going to find things about the caverns that are not true. So his job now, amidst his, I want to see your punch list as well, Paul, is probably you're going to straighten up the Wikipedia and get the social media and give people a real insight to the beauty of the caves that Mary and I were just in.
That's right. Yeah, there's quite a number of things on the Wikipedia page as it exists today that are just not true. And we're going to try to edit those things out because people should have a fun experience because the cave is really, really fun. But they also should have an experience that is a truthful thing. You know, the cave doesn't have to be fun with stories. It can be fun with the real thing.
Right. And we were kind of quizzed by Paul, or no, I think it was our pilot. What was our favorite part of the cave tour that we took? They're called snowballs, and they actually have an official name.
Yeah, they're mammillaries.
Mammillaries,
Right.
which is fitting when you look at them, that this is what they'd be called. And I did look at a couple of other things, and I said, well, that looks like coral, and the name...
Coralloids, yes.
See, I was close. So I was coming up with the names as we're walking through this tour. And again, I hope that the footage that Mary and I took on our iPhones during this tour give it justice. But the beauty of these caverns, and again, how long have we lived in Arizona and in the Southwest and haven't come here? Both Mary and I have been to the Carlsbad Caverns. We've seen these things, but wow, you guys have done so much. And the history that you shared with us is pretty amazing. I was going to come in here during the opening of the show and say that it was 65 million years old. And I read that online somewhere. And then you were kind enough to express to me, no, it was actually this many years old. So you're still discovering things down there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, the 65 million years, it's possible the cave started back then, but more likely between 38 million and 17 million years ago. The cave as we know it, where the walls are now, stopped growing at that point about 17 million years ago.
Wow.
And it was, the cave was built through acidic water from the volcanoes that are in the area. And there's a couple that are just a mile away. So...
Now, Mary, when she was asked the question, you had two, let's call them rooms. You had these football field-sized rooms.
Right.
She was more intrigued with the one you were talking about between stable and unstable, and where the rocks had come down in one, but had formed in arches in another. So we were trying to learn as much as we could, and to know. And then I believe in the room that she really liked, you could still see remnants of fossils that were in the rock. And then I asked the question, well, did that come from the top of the rock or the bottom of the rock before it fell? And nobody knows unless you try to trace cracks in the rock to the ceiling.
That's a great question.
Yeah, but it was one of those things did it get smashed in the rock before it fell from the roof, or did it?
Oh, absolutely.
But my question is, where it broke off, was that where the fossil was, or was it at the bottom of the rock and then it fell and rolled over? So why would I ask that question? I have no idea. But what I'm leading to, Paul, is you asked what I liked, and what Mary liked. What do you find intriguing about the not Carlsbad Caverns, but the Grand Canyon Caverns?
Yeah, Grand Canyon Caverns has a great fascination for me due to the airflow that goes in and out of the cave.
Oh, you were explaining that. Do you mind sharing that again?
Sure. I've done a multi-year experiment here, tracing the temperature, pressure, and humidity in the cave, because we noticed that the cave breathes in and out. Well, we tried to figure out exactly why, and I can tell you for sure that the cave breathes in and out due to atmospheric pressure. So when there's a high pressure on the surface outside, air blows into the cave. It's more dry on the surface, so the cave in the front of the cave dries slightly. When there's a low pressure on the surface, the cave exhales or blows out, and that moisture air comes from where we don't know yet. And that's one of the things that we're looking for. Our exploration is trying to figure out where the air goes and where it comes back. I can tell you for sure that there's only one entrance, and right now that is the elevator entrance. There is a scientific reason for that. It's easier shown on a graph than talked about just in a microphone.
I'm completely intrigued by the whole concept that this is a living, breathing thing.
Right.
It's not just a cave or a set of caves or openings and stalactites and all that weird stuff. I just sit back and realize that if it only has one entrance in, that elevator shaft has a big job.
It is.
That's what makes this breathe.
And I'll also tell you that the civil defense cache back there that was done in 1962 would not be a really good radiological problem because the cave blows in and out, and so anything that's on the surface will come downstairs.
So for those that thought that was a brilliant idea, that's not a good idea. Let's go hide in the cave, because if the cave's breathing, it's going to bring the radioactive air into the cave.
Right.
But it will breathe it right out, so don't worry.
Yeah.
Well, to our knowledge, there's not any respirators inside of those supplies,
No, in the
right?
supplies.
No.
And what's kind of interesting, I think we caught some of the footage, was what's inside those buckets. And some of those items that are in the bucket, you have to question. It was like, okay, in 1962, maybe that was a thing.
Sure.
So what is next on the horizon for you, sir? What is it that you want to, what do you want to see? What do you want to do?
Well, as cavers, we've been working on where the rest of the cave goes. So we were able to look down into a place that the tourists, as they come around on their tour, will look into, that they call the mystery room. At the bottom of the mystery room, that was the edge of the known universe in 1988. So cavers, those people that I associate with, have helped to move some rocks and get everything beyond there was discovered by the cavers. There were no people there before 1988.
Do we know where the end of the cave is?
No. All of, that's one of the tour guide questions that you get. Is all the cave underground? Well, yes, it is.
Well, it's a cave.
How much unexplored passage is there? Well, all of the unexplored passage is unexplored.
Right.
But we don't know how much it is. The volume of air that moves in and out doesn't stop. So even
Really?
any pressure change continues to go along with the pressure change. So we don't have enough high pressure or low pressure at any one time to be able to fill up the cave. So we think there's a lot more. And when the cave breathes out the moist air, that's what's exciting to me, is because we're on the top of a hill. There's no rivers, lakes, streams, anything up here on top of the hill. So where is that moisture actually coming from? Is there perched water 100 feet or 200 feet below us? Is there a lake, or are we all the way down to the water table, which is about 600 feet below the bottom of the cave?
Gotcha. So when we took the tour earlier, what I found kind of interesting was the cracks. Mm-hmm. You pointed out the differences. There's what's the word? The hole going up.
Uh-huh. We call it a dome.
A dome, thank you. I knew that. I was trying to reach for the word. So one of the domes almost comes to the surface and has no moisture.
Correct.
And yet the other one that's shorter has moisture. And then we get to see the moisture on the ground, and this is dry caves, yet you see the moisture, and you called that a cave kiss, correct? So if you walk through,
if the drop
it can
hits
drop
you,
on,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a moist couple of last seasons. We're dry this year, but previously the last two seasons when the cave wasn't open, there was actually a lot of moisture that was up here.
So I have an interesting question for you. This is the science guy in my head, and I'm not a science guy. You said that you were measuring you have the barometric pressure here, and you know that it moves in and then moves out. And you said that is steady, that the same three things you're looking at going in are the same three that come out. So everything kind of works well. Is there a way to, I don't know, I don't want to use the word smoke, and I don't want to use the word a repellent, but is there a way to time the air to, if this group of air is moving through, when does it come back?
No.
There's no way to do that?
It's not easy to do that.
Like a flying airplane, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's like, is there a way to find out? It'd be kind of interesting to see how far that goes in.
I know that the when the pressure changes, it moves, and the surface sensor that I had, one in the mid cave and one in the lowest part of the cave, the furthest back part of the cave, would change at the same time.
Oh.
Which also tells me that there's only one entrance.
Yeah.
There can't be another entrance to the cave. It's
So
not possible.
You're alluding to stories that people are telling that there's another way to get into the caverns, and there is not.
There is not.
It
It's
just doesn't.
scientifically not possible.
Yeah, and that's coming from a cave scientist.
Yeah, I have been called the cave scientist for Grand Canyon Caverns.
Well, that's what she gave you. I like the title. What would you like to see in the future? What is it you'd like to do? Would you like to get more cavers out here from around the world to investigate? Do you want to keep it limited to a group of people? What is it?
We've been keeping it limited to mostly people from Arizona, also some from New Mexico and California. People that we know, because we're working in an environment that's it's not tourist friendly by any means. Several years ago, we were working on one of our areas where we were doing the exploration, and one of our team was sitting in one of we call it a waiting area at that point, because it was a far point in the cave, and he's sitting there and he goes, "There's air on my back." And so we moved a couple of rocks, and they said, "Oh, well, look, this might go." And then they moved a couple more rocks, and the guy was there. He goes, "Well, I'm too big to fit." But he pointed to one of the other cavers that was there and says, "You're small enough, so crawl through." So they crawled through, and that was the big breakout a few years ago.
Well, awesome. Yeah. Now, to go back to you, Vickie, is being in charge of the tours. How many people, up until having to close the caverns, how many people come through?
You know, that's a great question.
Good. I did something right.
I'm trying to see if I know what that information is.
Less than 1,000, more than 10,000?
It is more than 1,000, and I don't know how close we are to the 10,000.
Oh, okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
That's fine. I wish I knew that. I've been here a couple of months, so I'm still learning.
Wonderful. I think where I was leading to is that 2026, and Jim Hinckley, I don't know if you're familiar with Jim Hinckley's America.
I know of his name.
He is a phenom in the Southwest. If you need to know anything, he's the guy that I go to. And Jim has been very kind to share with me. We both are excited for the Centennial in 2026. 100 years of the Mother Road. We're hoping that it's not what we call a birthday party. So we're building up to this giant 2026, and everybody's and then 2027 comes along, and yeah, it's over. We don't want that to happen. We're hoping that we can open doors, inspire road trips. And like I said, what I do with Arizona Podcast, Mary and she is my best co-pilot. She puts up with me, and I don't know why that she continues to do so, but she's my best co-pilot when it comes to finding these little treasures. So people that have traveled, you may not be familiar with the story. I've said it a million times. I discovered Route 66 in the summer of 1969. I saw the whole thing from the back end of a 1964 Station Bel Air station wagon. The best part of the trip was Arizona for me. When we crossed the border, Chief Yellow Horse, I bought another one of the Indian totem poles that I had been collecting from back then, Stuckey's. You would come through and gift stores, and you would pick up these little trinkets. And then it was the Painted Desert. It was the Petrified Forest. It was the Meteor Crater. It was Meteor City. It was Winslow. It was Williams and the Grand Canyon. And it was Kingman. It was Oatman. I mean, it was just this everything compacted into one state. So I think that's what Mary and I are doing. We want to really showcase not only what you can find on Route 66, but we also want to talk about off Route 66. But people need to come see this place. I'm amazed. We had not seen this before, and we've driven by many times. So I'm glad we made it.
Oh, I think it's great that y'all did that. We've connected and, we're getting to share this with everybody. And as you said, for it not to just be a birthday party in 2026, that it does carry on the livelihood of the great, stops that are along, Route 66. And that brings me to a story when I first came on. We have these dinosaurs all over the.
Oh, I saw that
at
on the
entrance
properties.
and here, and we have them in the building. And so, I'm like, do we really have to keep the dinosaur theme? And at first, I wasn't real favorable of it. But I started seeing some pictures. I started hearing people talk about when they came out.
Their childhood, yeah.
Yeah, so I was hearing those childhood stories, and I thought to myself, having grandchildren myself, that it would be great that, let's say that I came out here with my dad and we had a picture of us. Well, now you come out with your grandchildren or what have you, just the nostalgia of that and continuing that tradition. So that's what I would love to see happen. We've, had people respond on our social media. That
I was going to say, that would be a real
I
good
was there.
Instagram thing. Share the photos.
Right. And they were saying, yeah, I was there. I remember I was there at this time. I remember that. And so just having, hearing people reminisce from those moments, I hope they come out on February 1 or whatever date, that they set.
Gotcha.
And
you're celebrating the same time the Mother Road is celebrating. 100 years as a roadside attraction on Route 66. I mean, there's got to be a tie-in there somewhere, I'm assuming.
well, I think we're getting a little year start on it since we're opening in 2025.
Right.
But at the same time, being
You work
able
out the
to be
bugs.
here. Yeah, work out the bugs. Hopefully we'll find minimal bugs. But, back to your question about how many people come out here, the cobwebs cleared.
Yeah.
70,000
Thank
is what
you.
we have had in the past a year. So we have set a goal.
You going to do 100,000?
Yes, sir.
There you go.
100,000.
I think you're going to do. I think you're going to do much more. Again, going back to Jim Hinckley, we both believe in our heart of hearts that Route 66 will easily millions that will travel. Either they're going to do the full route from Chicago to Los Angeles, or they're going to pick states, or locals are going to visit more things in their state. We want that to continue past, of course, 2026. But learning what's available and who the people are, I don't want to use words like lifeblood, but there are so many businesses, small businesses along Route 66 that depend on the tourist. And that's vital to this. You guys are a perfect example. It's a way to keep the community alive. We just need to get the young kids out. We need to give them a reason to come out and play and understand that this isn't your parents or your grandparents' highway. This is a road where they can go see things. I mean, what do you have here? You have what the official word Angel Delgadillo did. The historic birthplace of historic Route 66. He did that in Seligman. Seligman is a wonderful town to visit. Peach Springs, part of that same legacy that you have here. And then what do you have? Valentine, you have other things to see along this route. I didn't know until we started exploring. I haven't seen enough yet. I mean, I'm finding new things every day.
Most definitely. And this is a personal favorite of mine, is the Burma shape signs.
Oh, Mary and I talked about that in one of our last podcasts.
We almost have them memorized. But it's fun, to read them and we videoed them and shared them with our family because they were like, what? Some of the family knew and.
Well, again, it's the entire stretch of the longest continuous trip on Route 66 is here. Mm-hmm. So you leave Ash Fork and you get on Route 66. Yeah, it takes a little bit longer than jumping on Interstate 40, but but take the trip. Now, again, Mary is good to me. She allows me to go to Oatman and see the wild burros, and I order my Roadrunner sandwich with donkey pea and a side of burro ears. She lets me do those kind of things, and people are, what did he just order? And it's like, well, you know what? When you're in Oatman, that's what you order for lunch. So there are little mysterious things that people need to come and see. But you could probably easy for those that are listening, and I tell you, if you come to Arizona as part of that Route 66 journey, don't plan to do it in a day. You need to have if I could give you any piece of advice of Arizona Route 66, I would give yourself 4 days. I would make sure, I don't know if you've ever stayed in a wigwam, but if you went off to Hallbrook and you stayed there and then ventured out from there and saw the Painted Desert and the Petrified Forest, if you made your way into Winslow for the Meteor Crater, and then you make your way here and you see the caverns, and you could probably spend a week. But there are so many things to come and see and do here. I highly recommend that you do it because it's kind of exciting.
Well, and I think one of the things we might not have stressed as much is our RV park, because we have scout groups that come here and have local campouts for their projects and what have you. The other is if you're taking a weekend getaway,
right,
and you want to get out of the city
and sleep in a cave,
hustle and bustle, and sleep in the cave, or bring your RV and just enjoy the night sky. I mean, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful out here.
Have a campfire, make those s'mores.
And now, let me go back to something I guess we could have asked Roxanne, but are there actual tent camping sites up here as well?
Yes, we have a couple of tent areas where folks can, have a group camp out. And then, like you said, we have the RV sites that are available as well. We have a new bathhouse. So, if you are in a tent and you want to take a warm shower, or cool off after a day hiking, we have several hiking trails here on the property as well.
Right. And we had heard that there's some big events coming up in the spring, so
yes,
that makes things. And Paul, to put you on the spot one more time, one of the things you had mentioned, what you do here as being, quote, specialist of the caves, you volunteer yourself. This is a passion for you.
Yes, it's all volunteer for me.
And you've been doing this. There's a picture of you as a very young man in the restaurant. I saw that.
Younger, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's 18 years ago, 19 years ago.
When did you begin your volunteer here?
I think my first trip to Grand Canyon Caverns was in 1993 as a tourist. I was already a caver, but I'd go to all the tourist caves whenever I possibly can. And so I came here with the cavers in 1994, possibly 95, somewhere in that vicinity. And we had a meeting down here. And then in 2002, 2003 is when the owners at that time asked the cavers to come help them to look at the cave and also look for the exploration possibilities. And that's where they allowed us to start doing that exploration.
So you got bit.
Oh, well, I was bit before that, but this was just a good opportunity, and it's a great place to come.
Wow. So again.
So we've been doing that. And so that picture on the wall was one of our times that we were here from 2006.
Wow. And you still find something new every day.
I still want to know where that moisture comes from.
Is that that's your quest? That's what we're gonna find out.
Yep.
One day we're gonna see another picture next to that one some 30 years later, and you'll have a glass of water. I found it. That might work. And in closing, anything you'd like to share with the folks that are now contemplating whether to stop and see? Is there something that you could point out for them?
Grand Canyon Caverns is different than like being in Carlsbad or some of the other wet caves back east. It doesn't have that kind of decoration, but what we have is very interesting, and it's a very spectacular look, and you can just look at things in a different light and be in a whole different world, whole different environment.
And if I were to ask the same of you, I noticed I got a reaction when I said, "What is the one thing?" And you you had a list of like 10.
Right, several came to mind, and so if I can speak for myself,
Please.
and answer for Roxanne as well.
Hi, Roxanne.
So my first for me is the animals that drop through the original entrance, and so we have mummified animals down in the.
Heard there's
the
a
cavern.
sloth.
There is a replication of the sloth because the bones is what was found.
Right.
And so that would be mine, is to come and see, what animals entered in and let
And
you see.
there's a coyote.
A coyote, there's a bobcat.
Oh, that's right. That's what. Yeah.
Bobcat, yeah.
So yes.
Wow.
And for Roxanne, we want to add that we do have a swimming pool for those in the summer that want to enjoy that. We also have a disc
Disc golf.
frisbee, disc golf. Yeah,
Disc golf. Yeah, they have a name for it.
I'm a
Yeah.
disc golf player too.
A
Oh,
disc
are you?
golf.
Yes.
And then
This guy does everything.
he's got. You should have seen the list that he sent me. He says, "But just make it cave specialist." So, anyways,
He played a geologist on TV.
right on the Discovery Channel.
I know.
Yeah. And then we're also looking at getting our mini golf back up and going.
What? And where was that?
It's all up front. Where the
Oh,
front does
I
it,
missed
you
the
see.
old mini golf. So
And we have an airstrip as well.
I was going to bring that up. It's like Amboy. It's like you can land your private plane and come have some fun. Now, can you bring the airplane up here on the road or no?
No.
No, Amboy you can, but here you can't.
No, we'll offer transportation. If you get landed here on our property, well,
Wonderful. One more time, the website is gccaverns.com, phone number 928-422-3223, and that'll put things together for you. I can't thank the both of you, the three of you, I didn't mean to leave you out of that one at all, for the hospitality. This has been wonderful and highly educational. And Mary and I were discussing privately that we have to come back and just be a tourist. We need to experience the whole thing.
sure, for
That would be a lot of fun. Again, thank you for being a part of that. And thanks for joining us for another edition of Arizona Route 66, the podcast, a very special presentation of Arizona Podcast. If you'd like to support us, we set up a Venmo account to send a gift if you'd like to do so. If you don't want to send a lot, how about a cup of coffee or a tank of gas? That's how easy it is. We don't do advertising or do the sponsorships that you see on otherwise. You'll find our QR code on the front page of our website at arizonapodcast.com. I want to take the time to say thank you to the great group of people here, of course, at Grand Canyon Caverns, Paul, Roxanne, and Vickie for giving us the tours and for the great work you guys are doing ahead. The mural work behind us, thanks for picking out this great location for the show. It has been spectacular. You've definitely made us feel like we're at home. And again, we will make our time to come back out and see the place. Don't forget, you'll find us not only on our website, but you'll find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, and don't forget us now on Blue Sky at Arizona Podcast. My name is Chris. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next edition of Arizona Podcast.
Thank you for listening to Arizona Route 66, the podcast. For more information about our podcasts, the people, places, and events, or the sponsors heard, visit ArizonaPodcast.com. Available for download everywhere.